you, Oscar, for that introduction. And I'm going to add the disclaimer, Bambina is being very tenacious this morning and wants to be a camera hog. So, we'll keep that in mind as I go through my speech this morning. But a wise woman named Ursula once said, "Don't underestimate the importance of body language." And while I think she was onto something there, I think she left out a couple of other key important factors like vocal variety, your tone in your voice, your facial expressions, especially in a virtual environment where we don't have that face-to-face meeting anymore. You might be thinking, is body language even important, especially when right now we're in a Zoom setting, but if I'm on a call and anybody can only hear my voice, does body language really even matter? I'm here to tell you that it definitely matters. So much so that I may have had a personal experience where body language came right in my face and showed me that it's something that's really important. In this virtual environment, I know I personally have had issues with just feeling engaged in a lot of meetings. I think when you're in this virtual setting, it's really easy to join the call, put yourself on mute, and then start multitasking with something else. I know I am definitely guilty of that. Not sure if any of you have had that struggle before, but in this environment, you don't have the same water cooler moments, if we want to go that route, where you have those moments before meetings where it was just this natural kind of space filler to interact with people. And you'd say, "Hey, how was your weekend?" Or, "Oh my gosh, I love your shoes." And in a virtual environment, those kind of anecdotes just feel a little bit more forced than they did when you were cleaning up after a meeting or going right into a meeting. And going back to that personal experience, I have been called out by one of my coworkers, so much so that I have a great example of what not to do. And I'm going to share my screen, and you can see here, this is what not to do in the middle of a Zoom meeting, because I clearly am very disengaged. I'm not even looking at the camera or paying attention in this meeting. And my coworker called me out, and I'm glad he did, because this was really a wake-up moment for me when I realized, oh, I am not all here in these meetings. Because I think, in the office, I'm sure sometimes, I had facial expressions that may have been a little unapproachable at times, but I hope I never looked like this when I'm sitting right across from someone at a table. I hope I'm not, looking the other way from them and totally not paying attention. So when my coworker called me out, I felt like it was, bam, Kylee, you are not engaged in our meetings, and I'm calling you out. And so it really got me thinking, okay, we're in this virtual environment for at least a little bit longer, because I know our team hasn't heard when we're going back to the office yet. And I started to think about what are ways that I can just start reattaching myself in those meetings and, not multitasking and really pulling myself back in to be present in these meetings and fully engaged. And one of the things, as I started to research a little bit, I found an article from entrepreneur.com, and it talked about body language. And I thought that was really interesting that in a virtual environment or in meetings where people can't even necessarily see your face, body language is still really important. And it got me thinking, if I'm sitting in meetings and I'm on Zoom, resting my head on my hand, or I'm slouched over, or my arms are crossed, that kind of body language already is putting me in a negative headspace. I'm already, through my body language, saying, I don't want to be here, let's wrap this up, let's get this going. And so I started to think about, what are some things that I could be doing to challenge myself to say, okay, don't do this in the middle of a meeting. Let's step back, and how about we start with just rolling our shoulders back and sitting up straight? Because I know these days I start to feel like a hunchback sitting at my desk because I'm not getting up probably as often as I should. So I think just standing up straight or sitting up straight already makes you feel just a little bit more in control. And then the other thing was, my found that just something as simple as smiling and sitting up straight, I suddenly was very engaged in the meetings. And even if maybe there are some meetings that I, full disclosure, don't really want to be there, by smiling and sitting up straight, I felt so much better. I kind of felt like I did when I was back in the office, because I think in the office, I'm very aware of what do I look like a lot of the times, because, even though I'm sitting in my cubicle, people are passing back and forth all the time. So nowadays, working from home, I might be sitting crisscross applesauce in my desk chair, where at the office, I would not be sitting like that. I would be much more formal and professional. So it's funny how just those two things from body language completely reframed my mind coming into meetings. And I'm still working through it, because this is a pretty big adjustment for me, but that wake-up call really showed me how far I had disengaged from my team. And so I'd like to turn around and challenge each of you that if you're feeling disengaged in this virtual environment, take a moment to do those two things: roll your shoulders back and smile while you're sitting in a meeting. And I think you'll find that you feel a lot better, because Ursula, she was on to something when she said, don't underestimate the importance of body language, my friends. Thank you.